All right, so this is week 2 of our software applications videos, and we're going to talk a lot more about Microsoft Word. So I called it Advanced Microsoft Word because we're going to get a little fancier than maybe you've done in your past uses of Microsoft Word. So last week you created a new Word document in Lab, created a number list, answered some questions about your computer experience, created folders for your lab files, used the snipping tool to take pictures basically of those and paste them into your document. You performed an internet search on a topic from a list that I gave you. You created a table in Microsoft Word, and then next week we'll start making tables in Microsoft Excel. You inserted a picture in your document, you did spell and grammar check, you save as to turn your docx into a PDF, and then you uploaded them both up into Brightspace. And that's essentially how labs will go, but we'll just keep adding more and more tools to our experiences for Word and then Excel, and then week 7 we'll combine all of these things. So a little bit about Microsoft Word terminology. So here are some pretty common words that we will use when referring to Word and sometimes also Microsoft Excel. Both of them have a spot at the top where it shows you the file name. This isn't really a file name, right? It's just Microsoft Word intro doc. Man, maybe I did save it. Next, right, we have a ribbon, which is these tabs up here, and there are different toolbars, right, associated with each tab. So this is the Home tab on the ribbon, and there's all kinds of things on here that you probably have used often, changing font size, underline, bold, right, some fancy stuff like highlighting and changing colors. There's a ruler, and you can make it visible or not visible. It's usually a good idea to make it visible. This ruler is showing that we have an indent set automatically. That's done here in the paragraph area. Okay? So for instance, we can go into, there we go, software applications. Here I'm going to just open a new, maybe. Come on, crazy thing. There we go. Oops, too fast for my own good. So we'll open just a blank Word document. So here is, right, paragraph, so we can have a first line indent. We can have something called hanging. That just means that the first line sticks out basically and the rest go in. That's used a lot for references, right? We can change alignment. We can change spacing. So this is currently set at double spacing. I can have, right, a little extra after each paragraph, so don't add space between paragraphs of the same style, right? I can do all kinds of things. I can preview what that will look like, right? So there are a lot of, excuse me, special settings basically in Word. Of course, Word lets you identify misspelled words. Here I have another problem that's not a misspelled word. It just is looking for a third dot, right? So Microsoft Word is very nice in allowing you to see when there's a problem. This is a bullet list like we made in Lab last week. We have a numbered list, right? This is highlight. I can change the color of my font, right? That's all. This is almost all stuff from, excuse me, the Home tab. Here I have headings, and you notice that here in the navigation, I have headings. Now these might have been changed so they're all APA, because usually when I write documents, I'm writing in APA, right? But you can also change these things. So for instance, I can create a header I don't know, I'll just make, right? So this could be introduction, and then it's over here, right? And then I could have another, right? And so maybe it's, oh, I didn't, right? Because here it defaulted back to the normal. So now I could highlight it and make it, right? So this just lets me have very nice navigation, right? It's a great way to outline a paper, especially if you have to outline a paper at first and then fill it in, right? So, and like I said, we can replace, we can find, we can do all these things in styles, which is where headers are, right? I can do some other things. I can, oops, right? So I have lots of options. I can, right, create a new kind of header, right? I can do all kinds of different things, right? I can recommend, I can, yeah, I can do all kinds of things. I can come up here to, there's my APA, right? But it's something that I literally modified, right? And I just based it on the Style Gallery's original, right, heading. I think there's heading A and heading B, right? And then these are things that you're probably used to, right? Font styles, Arial, Times New Roman, Broadway, all kinds of fancy things. Different sizes, because you'll be doing some mathematical um, kinds of things. You need to be able to do superscripts, right? So here we have square meters, we have 10 to the minus ninth. You need to be able to do subscripts, right? So force total, net force, italics, bold, underline. Inserting symbols, you can insert a table, right? And those things are fairly easy. So for instance, if I want to insert a symbol, I can go to insert, there we go, right? And symbol, there's all kinds of symbols. Mostly we'll be using Greek symbols. Here are the ones that I've used recently, so some common symbols here is great. Math symbol, right, not equal to. I can have tau, right, also for torque, those kinds of things. If I want to, I can go in and I can also change the size of these kinds of things, right? I can put a, come in here and I can make this a subscript. So I can do lots of things like that. I can insert a table. So there's insert a table, so pretty simple. I can just pull this down. I can insert however I want it. I can have 4, right, columns, and now if I get to here and I hit the tab, right, it'll just keep adding. I can do fancy things to my table and, right, make it look different ways, right? So there's lots of kind of defaults. I can change, say that whether or not the first row is a header. If I want banded rows, it gives me actually quite a few possibilities. Can also, right, delete a table, delete just rows, just cells, right? But I'm going to delete my whole thing here. So those are all, right, additional things we can do. So this is something called Smart Art that's in PowerPoint. So step 1, we're going to look at different styles, headers and footers. page number, symbols, equations, and then track changes and accepting changes. So we've peeked a little bit already at these headings, right? So I have no spacing, normal. These are all kind of like defaults. And you notice that these headings look a little different, right? So this is a different than my default word. I can't remember. It's like a dot, but so these have different headings, right? Because they've been changed. Oops. That was the home toolbar, which we talked about. Here's the insert one, right? We just looked at that with table. We can insert a blank page. You can actually have some funky cover page options. Page breaks are handy if you have to have, right, an abstract perhaps on one separate page. Pictures, online pictures, because they have lots of different things. Comments are just usually inserted for revisions and things. But here's header, footer, and page number. Can also insert, right, things like text boxes. And right here, once we are in the footer or the header, we have a new tab here that appears, right, called Design, and this allows us to do some specific things related to headers and footers. So for instance, I could have a different header and footer on my first page, right? I could have it be different for odd and even. I could insert a section break and then have a new set of headers and footers. So I have lots of different options. So if we come back over here, I can come over, insert, right? Here's my header. And it gives me a couple of different possibilities, including some I'll call obnoxious ones. Hey, we'll use this obnoxious one. So right, we can call this software applications. Right, and maybe then we go to our footer. We could do other things. We could put your name. Could insert page number. Right. So we could do it at the current position, and we have different options. Right. So maybe I like this one. We could have a different first page, so that now I made those disappear. Right. And now I can go and we'll insert a second page. And look, there's my header and my footer, right? So that's handy if you want to have something else here, and then I can come into this header and go, I don't know, cover page, and make it centered. And that means that that's what that looks like. There's no page number, right? And then this is different. I can make it different odd evens. So there's my cover page. Oh, and that disappeared because that's the odd page. I can insert another page break. There I am on page 3, right? It's an odd page, so there's just lots of different options. Next, we're going to look at another thing that's in the Insert tab, which is equations and symbols. We've actually just looked a little bit at the symbols, And so now we're going to look at equations. So being able to insert equations is really, really useful, especially for engineering technology kinds of fields. So we have some standard ones, right? Pythagorean theorem, you didn't even need an equation editor to do that because it's just A, B, and C with superscripts of 2's, right? I have expansion, pi r squared, right? I can look for more equations, right? So I have all kinds of standard, right? Oh, look at all kinds of fun things, right? Some limits, some polynomial expansions. Oh, it's a Laplace transform. That's exciting. Oh, it's a contour integration. Right, but maybe there's not what I need in here. So maybe I have to instead, right, insert a new equation. And when I do that, right, here's a new design thing that comes up. And I have degrees Fahrenheit, degrees C. Right? I could ink an equation, which is handy if you, right, have a touch screen. This happens to be a touch screen. It's not my work computer. Right, so I could do some funky things. So maybe I'll do, oh, let's see, what's a good, how about F net? Right, so oh, maybe I'll make it C for centripetal force. How about that? And then I need to, oh, I can't do that there. So I have to come over here and go, all right, what do I need to do? Right, I have all kinds of different structures, right, normal text, right, I can open an additional dialog box that has some options in it, and, oh, I thought it was in here. Oh, there it is, it's a script. So I'm going to make it a subscript. Oh, I need to do it this way. There's my C. We'll try this again. That's crazy. There we go. And equals, oh, it's subscripting on me, so I have to unsubscript. No, I have to remember how to do that. There we go, I think. Yeah, maybe not. All right, we'll try this again. And this is kind of, frankly, how it seems to go. All right. So I'm going to put my equal sign in here first. And then I'm going to come over and do my subscript. So there's my F. Here's my C. Is equal to, and you might remember this, so it's M, right? And then V squared, so I have to do my subscript. So it's going to be V squared, so there's my V. Here's my squared. Right? And G, I think it's over MV squared over R. And there it is, my centripetal force equation. If If I want to, right, I can have some other options. I could save it as a new equation. I could make it linear. I could change to inline. I could change to display. Notice that doesn't do a whole lot. Right? Justify it, left, right. I can make it linear. Oh, that's pretty hideous. Right? I can make it professional. That's where we were before. Right? So we're always going to write equations like this. We're not going to do, right? F C is equal to M V squared divided by R. I mean, we could. I mean, there used to be a time that was the only way we could do it. But which one looks more professional? This one or this one? Right? This one does. It looks like something out of a textbook. So we'll definitely be doing some of those things. Again, right, you can create all kinds of new equations, and it's really about using the insert, right? Here's another example of, right, solving F net equals MA, and then actually having it out. Here, when I did the units, I decided to do my fraction a slightly different way, just to show you that you could do that. And then finally, we can edit and track changes. So track changes is really useful, especially if you're working on a project with somebody else. So we can go over and, right, we remember, oops, review is where we found spell and grammar check. And now, right, we're going to go in here and we're going to do track changes. Right? So track changes just means that I can change this, right, and call it background. And then it just shows me that I made a change. Right? I could delete this. It just leaves it in there. And then I can check out and accept or reject my various changes. And I already mentioned before that we can do comments. This is also handy for doing a joint paper, right? Or if you're helping your friend, you wrote a report and he wrote a report, and now you're reading each other's reports and you're trying to help each other out so you both get A's. So here I could comment that this was called introduction. Maybe that's better. I can delete that. If I have multiple ones, I could go from comment to comment. If I have something like an introduction where I need to figure out how many words, so this tells me how many, this has got 5 pages, is our syllabus. It's got 1,725 words, but maybe I want to know how many words are in this first row. Oh, it didn't tell me. Oh, it must be because I am in a table, but I could come over here and do word count. Right, there's the total words. Nope. That's weird. Maybe it's because it's in a table. If I highlight this one, it should. There we go. If I highlight that, there's 121 words. So if you have to write an introduction, it has to be 300 words. That's how you could figure it out. Same thing here, right? Sometimes there's a limit of characters too, right? So we can get more information. And next week we're going to talk about creating charts, and then we're going to talk about inserting them into Microsoft Word documents. They're essentially copy and paste, but we have options of what they look like, both tables and graphs, when we copy and paste them in. Good news is by week 7, you're going to be able to integrate tables and graphs, equations, symbols into a technical report. And your technical reports will have headers, just like we're going to play around with this week in lab. And so lab 2 is basically getting us one step closer to being able to use Microsoft Word and then Microsoft Excel to make really very professional reports. And that'll be really useful whether it's a formal lab report in a physics class or if it's something that you have to do for Mechanical Design 3 or anything like that.